Survival expert Creek Stewart shows us how.
Anytime you drink natural water found in streams, ponds, or seeps, it could be infected with waterborne pathogens, and it can make your situation worse. If at all possible, you want to boil water. And if you don't have a metal canteen like this one, believe it or not, you can boil water in any trash plastic bottle. I've made a tripod here out of common plants found in the Big Bend area. The flower stalks from Sotal and yucca leaves. All I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my plastic water bottle with water that I've just taken from a stream. And then I'm going to tie this on with my yucca leaves like this. And now all we're going to do is hang this bottle of water right over the fire. And it doesn't even matter if the plastic touches the coals or the flames lick the plastic, because the water inside pulls the heat away from the plastic faster than the plastic will burn. Once the water reaches a rolling boil, it's safe to drink.
An all-new episode of SOS How to Survive premieres tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on the Weather Channel. All right, Philly, yo, we've got some blue skies and some orange.
Philly, yo. Hey, we got a good NFC battle today, right? Giants are in town. They're taking on the Eagles. It's going to be hot.
Yeah. You know, this is one of those situations. Good, clean fun on the fields. The Giants against the.
You know, the Eagles don't have a reputation of being hot under the collar
and this
or anything
matchup
like
is
that, right?
so friendly.
So friendly.
So friendly.
The friendly confines of Lincoln Financial Field. Look at the temperature here, about 90 degrees. So please do what you can to stay cool today. Lots of water. Maybe hold off on the extra beer today.
I mean, cool temperature and cool emotionally, right?
Yeah.
That's why they always get fired up. All right, we've got the Bills against the Broncos in Orchard Park, New York. No coolness here either. Plenty
You
of sunshine.
think you'd go there for a nice, cool fall game? Not happening, right? We're going to stay hot in Nashville, too. Temperatures here in the upper 80s as the Seahawks visit the Titans here. Both teams trying to get into the winning column here.
All right, we get to Green Bay. This is the unfrozen tundra for sure. Perhaps the record warm for the Green Bay Packers.
88 would make it the warmest football game ever at Lambeau Field.
All right, the Bengals trying to get a win. Mike, it was so much fun having you here.
Good to see you, girl.
Weather Geeks next.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, morning clouds followed by afternoon sun. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 86. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Monday, sunshine and some clouds. High 90. Winds north-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
And welcome to Weather Geeks. I'm Dr. Marshall Shepard from the University of Georgia. And there are those storms, there are those hurricanes that really have legendary status. All you have to do is say their name and you think back to some memories that for some are tough and for others we learn from. And Hurricane Andrew is one of those moments. And I think we have a meteorologist sitting next to me that probably saved lives. I'm just going to say that. And it's Brian Norcross, Senior Hurricane Specialist, the Weather Channel. And he has written a book. It's called My Hurricane Andrew Story. And as we are around the anniversary, the 25th anniversary of Hurricane Andrew, we thought it would be nice to bring Brian in to reflect on this historic moment in weather history.
It was an epic time. And at the time we were doing it, we were just doing what we needed to do to get through it.
Yeah.
Right. But looking back on it and 2.5 decades of time and many hurricanes, it was so extreme. So many things happened in Andrew that have not happened since, because we haven't had a storm anywhere near as strong, that it crossed so many thresholds and it caused so many changes that looking back, it doesn't seem like it's been 25 years, but because we live with it even today, so many things happen.
And we were talking before we went on about how South Florida had not really seen a major storm in over 20 plus years before Andrew.
27 years,
Yeah.
back to Hurricane Betsy, and Betsy, the core of it hit Key Largo, well to the south of Miami.
Right.
But it was a big, powerful hurricane, and so it did a lot of damage in Miami. The water came through the hotels. The storm surge came through the hotels in Miami Beach. It killed 250 animals on Key Biscayne at the zoo that was there at the time. So it was a very impactful storm, but that was 1965.
65. And talk to us about with that kind of drought, and we're sort of experiencing a little bit of that now, but as we saw Andrew 4, 5, 6 days out, it's a little bit different than how we sort of treat things now. I mean, this is an era of cell phones and Twitter. It's a little bit different back then. So take us through tracking that storm up to 4 days, 6 days out.
Well, there are a tremendous number of lessons in Andrew for today, because 5 days out on the previous Wednesday, so it hits a Monday morning. The previous Wednesday, it was a nothing tropical storm way offshore and forecast to stay east of the Bahamas and really not be a threat to South Florida, maybe remotely a threat to North Florida or the Carolinas. But then 4 days out, it opens up. It doesn't even have a circulation. So today it would be sort of downgraded to a potential tropical cyclone by modern names.
Modern technology and modern terminology now, right?
So it wouldn't even be a tropical depression or a tropical storm. That was 4 days out. So the models wouldn't handle it even great today, because disorganized storms don't get handled well. And even 3 days out, it was a tropical storm and not really a big concern to South Florida. It was more kind of central North Florida, Carolinas, even 3 days out, right? So it was very different. It was very quick developing. It was in many ways the kind of nightmare for emergency managers, where they worry about storms that people dismiss. Right, and then they don't kind of deal with, and then all of a sudden they have to deal with it at the last minute.
And do you think the technology that we have today in terms of the models and observing, would things have been different now, or was this just a difficult storm 3 to 4 days out still to really kind of pinpoint?
I think both.
Okay.
I think today the models would definitely be better, but we see all the time when you have a storm that doesn't have a well-defined center, that the models diverge, and the GFS goes over here and the European goes over here, and the models don't have a good handle on it, we say, right? So even though the cone has to go somewhere, they have to make a forecast, we don't have confidence, and so that would be 4 days out if the storm were to happen the same way. So back in 1992, we started on 2 days out, really, to really get concerned. It was really more a day and a half out that we really got concerned. So it wasn't this big lead time kind of thing like we kind of anticipate we'll have today with our 5-day cone.
Yeah, and today we invest in those types of storms, get a lot of attention now. So this is a different time. I'm talking to Brian Norcross, reflecting on Hurricane Andrew, 25th anniversary of the storm. Now, talk to us about, you talked about the meteorological setup. When did you know this was really going to be something big and different, and you started to sort of really hone in and change how you were messaging this storm?
Friday afternoon, so it happens overnight Sunday night. So we're only talking 2.5 days out here. So I'm waiting for the models in the afternoon. But back then, the models came off this printer. They went
die-fax.
Off the, it's called a die-fax. Yeah. The most archaic thing you could imagine. I'm waiting for this AVN model, which today we call the GFS, right? Yeah. That's all I got. Back then, before the internet, we didn't get the spaghetti plots in the TV station. They only got them at the Hurricane Center. And so they relied mostly on the spaghetti plots, which were keeping the storm offshore and moving it north. But the AVN was building a big high over the Carolinas. And I see that Friday afternoon. I say, if that's right, that's going to hold the storm south. We better raise the alert because it's Friday afternoon. Back then, people didn't have cell phones following them around, right? So I was worried about the weekend. I was worried about people going out in their boats and whatever over the weekend and not being aware. And if it had happened on a Thursday, I probably wouldn't have raised the alert based on just that model guidance, right? But because it was a Friday, I did that Friday afternoon. And I got all kinds of credit for being the first one to forecast it. I wasn't forecasting it. I was just notifying people of the risk.
Well, you know, whatever you were doing, I think you saved lives. Now, fast forward a little bit, this storm was a big-time storm to the point that we lost radar in South Florida. You guys went off the air, but you still were broadcasting or getting information out, simulcasting on radio. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so it turns out we actually stayed on the air in spite of having a condemned transmitter tower.
Okay.
But it was up on the Dade Broward line, so it survived. But I realized that if we had a hurricane in South Florida, people would listen on the radio, right? They weren't going to have power, so they weren't going to watch TV. So I said, well, we need to have a connection to the radio station, and it needs to be a hardline connection so that if our condemned tower falls over, the radio station can still get our signal.
Right.
So we actually paid at WTVJ in Miami, the NBC station there, to put in a hard line to a local radio station, Y100, and it was tested 1 week before Andrew, and we put it directly to the Y100 transmitter, which turned out to be just the perfect idea because their studio was evacuated.
I want to pick up on this, but when we come back on Weather Geeks, we're going to ask Brian to assess how he did and what he would do differently if this was happening today. But first, our Geek of the Week.
The hard-working women and men of the National Weather Service are this week's Geeks of the Week. The record-breaking hurricane season of 2017 has kept them busy, and over the past few weeks, they've issued thousands of forecasts and warnings for a handful of hurricanes, many of which directly impacted their offices and homes. But they definitely persevered. We salute these National Weather Service employees, our Geeks of the Week.
Wouldn't you like to be out on the rolling sea with only the sky above?
Hey, Grandpa. Hey, kid. Really good to see you. You too. You told Grandma you were going fishing again?
Maybe.
The best things in life keep going. That's why I got a Subaru too.
Introducing the all-new Crosstrek. Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
In 10 feet, imagine yourself as the boss. Recalculating. In no time at all, realize you don't have to be the CEO to enjoy the amenities of the VIP suite. Your all-new Compass.
Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles can lease the all-new 2017 Jeep Compass Latitude 4x2 for $176 a month.
When you start linking the people side up to the weather and the science and the data, it makes a real connection and starts, I think, drive home the importance of what we do.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, partly cloudy. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 87. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, mainly clear. Low 74. Winds north-northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, generally sunny. High 91. Winds northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
These are real-life survival stories that happen to real people.
SOS, How to Survive, tonight at 8, only on the Weather Channel.
COPD makes it hard to breathe. So to breathe better, I go with a Noro.
COPD tries to say go this way. I say I'll go my own way with a Noro.
Once daily Anoro contains 2 medicines called bronchodilators that work together to significantly improve lung function all day and all night. Anoro is not for asthma. It contains a type of medicine that increases risk of death in people with asthma. The risk is unknown in COPD. Anoro won't replace rescue inhalers for sudden symptoms and should not be used more than once a day. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition, high blood pressure, glaucoma, prostate, bladder, or urinary problems. These may worsen with Anoro. Call your doctor if you have worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain while taking Anoro.
Ask your doctor about Anoro.
Go your own way. Get your first prescription free at Anoro.com.
Managing blood sugar is a series of smart choices. And when you replace one meal or snack a day with Glucerna, made with Carb Steady to help minimize blood sugar spikes, less carbs and sugars, Glucerna.
And we're back on Weather Geeks, and I'm talking with Brian Norcross, Senior Hurricane Specialist at the Weather Channel, but also a legendary figure in the Hurricane Andrew story, and we're around the 25th anniversary of the storm. And Brian, I want to reflect on sort of what you think are the major sort of pros, or what you did best, you think, self-reflection on during that time.
I made the decision, and this was a conscious decision, to not talk a lot about the meteorology of the storm.
Right.
I made the decision to really talk about what people needed to do to deal with it, and go through all the various aspects of the different issues that people might have in their homes, in their high rises, living near the water, not living near the water, and what the differences were. Because once the storm appeared like it was going to be something near a worst case scenario, whether it was a little weaker or a little stronger really was not relevant to what people should do.
Exactly.
Right? As a matter of fact, the Sunday night, as it was approaching South Florida, it was weakening. And I made the decision to not really talk about that, to not say, wow, we could be hopeful. We couldn't do that today. Now we'd pick it all apart every 5 seconds on the radar, right? But I made that decision to not do that.
So you think by perhaps even mentioning that it had a chance to weaken, that people's guard would have been let down?
Right, because even if I didn't think it was going to weaken to where it wasn't going to be a tremendous storm. Right. As it turned out, it re-strengthened into a cataclysmic storm.
Right.
But it might have been a category lower. It might have been 15 miles per hour, 20 miles per hour less if it had not re-strengthened again, gone through its eye wall replacement cycle and come back with a shrinking eye wall just as it was hitting. So that was a decision that I think was the right decision to make. It would be very hard to do today with all the data we have coming in and all the display tools we have and the sort of concentration on the details, the minute details.
Well, I think that's an important discussion, though, because we are seeing a shift towards more social sciences of messaging the weather. Do you think yourself taking cover, or at least being concerned or showing concern, actually impacts your viewers in terms of how they react if they see you worried or see you concerned?
It was one of the two smartest things I ever thought of in my life, and neither of them were pre-planned. That happened as I saw that the storm was going to be likely a worst case. And I'm looking up at the roof of the studio saying, I'm a little bit concerned about our roof in this old building. But then I thought, you know what, if we can move, that's really going to be a trigger for other people to take cover, which I had been saying, you folks take cover. And so the studio crew was fantastic. They prepared on the fly a little storage area right off the set there. And at 3:30 a.m., we told people, we had all this communication with the studio crew on the air, because we were never off the air. There were no breaks. It was continuous. And so they knew what we were doing. They knew how the preparations were going. I said, John, are we ready? Yes, we're ready. Okay. And Kelly would say, okay, we're ready. And we got up and moved. That was one of the smartest things I ever thought of in my life. In
this last minute, we've got about a minute, what are some things that you wish you had done differently or think you should have done differently?
Main thing is we didn't have any communications with emergency management. Turns out they had communications problems there. And it didn't occur to me that they were missing from our coverage, because they could have filled in things that were going on in town at the hospitals and with the homeless population and other things that we really didn't know about. But it didn't occur to me till way late in the process we hadn't heard from Kate Hale.
Oh, wow.
And finally, we sent a reporter out there, and through the peak of it, we had people out there. But much earlier in the event, about the traffic and the evacuation and all those things, we did not have that connection.
Now, when we can come back on Weather Geeks, I'm going to talk to Brian about what he thinks is missing in today's hurricane coverage next on Weather Geeks.
crashing, hit a wall. Right now I need a miracle. Hurry now, I need a miracle.
The issues we care about can weigh on us.
I need it.
So lift the weight of caring by doing.
Yeah, I need you right now.
Visit statefarmsneighborhoodofgood.com to volunteer in your community.
Keeps ice for days, stays tough for a lifetime. For $250, you'll be one happy camper. Cabela's Polar Cap Equalizer Cooler. Great price, lifetime guarantee. Only at Cabela's.
Introducing the new Range Rover Velar. Land Rover above and beyond.
To feed your phenomenal, Lean Cuisine is changing. Over 20 dishes with no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. With ingredients like toasted coconut and juicy mango in our mango chicken. Feed your phenomenal with Lean Cuisine.
I want the most out of my health and life, so I trust Nature Made vitamins. Because they were the first to be verified by USP for quality and purity standards, and because I recommend them as a pharmacist.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
This Monday, superstar Jennifer Hudson joins The Voice.
If I throw a shoe, that's a compliment. What am I about to do? Hey!
Please leave your pants on.
If you look around, everything is so big. Who needs a 42-ounce soda? When we were kids, soda came in a 6-ounce bottle. Bigger isn't always better. Because we have aligned ourselves with other family businesses nationwide, we have the buying power to give you the best price every time.
We wake up every day with the purpose of making people's lives more convenient and economical. We're pretty good at that at Rosner's.
More of what you're looking for.
Here comes Admiral Plumbing Service. You say your toilet won't flush? Kitchen sink is clogged. A puddle under the water heater. And backed up pipes have you feeling waterlogged? If this sounds familiar, don't panic or fuss. Call Admiral Plumbing. You can count on us. Residential or commercial, we do it all. There goes Admiral Plumbing Service. Nice people, super service. Give us a call.
Elephant lives are at stake. Please help save them now.
We have a charge. We have a responsibility to provide information to people to help them, help their communities, help their families stay safe, and it matters so much.
You never think you'll be in a survival scenario until you are. These are real-life stories that happen to real people, and there are real teaching moments, not only from what they did, but what they could have done as well.
Weather Channel survival expert Creek Stewart hosts. SOS, How to Survive. Tonight at 8, only on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 86 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, partly cloudy. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 87. Winds north-northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, mainly clear. Monday, generally sunny. High 91. Winds northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
And we're back with senior hurricane specialist Brian Norcross of the Weather Channel. And boy, it's a different time in 2017 than it was in 1992 or so. We have social media, phone apps, people posting model results 3 weeks out. How do you think that makes things different in terms of how you would have covered Andrew today?
I think that the communication is much more difficult today. It's much more difficult to get a cohesive message. You know, back then, people knew to turn on the television, right?
Sure.
You turn on the television, somebody talks as long as they need to talk to get the message. We went on television for hours at a time doing nothing but taking phone calls, answering questions. Well, now those questions would end up being in tweets, and you just can't have the kind of conversation you can with people on social media that you can have in person, live on television. It's a better mechanism for that communication. And I think that the social media aspect and all the fragmented messages just dilutes the message. And wrong messages, right.
Too.
But it's fragmented and a variety of different takes on the same subject. It's very hard today to know, for an average viewer, to know where to get the authoritative message.
Now let's talk about some of the changes. So Hurricane Center's now 5-day forecast. How does that change the game?
So I'm not in favor of a 5-day cone.
Okay.
I would prefer they go back to a 3-day cone, because a 3-day cone means prepare. If you're in the cone, you got to prepare. 5-day cone, you're constantly in the 5-day cone and you don't have to do anything except pay attention, right? I'd rather they do a 3-day cone and put up a risk area at the coast like the tornado people do. They have a risk area ahead of the watch, right? So I like that model better. There are other things today that are much better. I mean, the technology to forecast is much better. Obviously, the average errors are much better. But I think we're too confident in the science, right? Because we still see examples of storms that explode near the coast, like Andrew did. Right? Sure. And we see them all the time, right? But not most often. But I think people have more confidence in the track and the intensity forecast than they should today. Back in 1992, nobody believed these things could be forecast more than a day in advance. So people didn't hang their hat on a forecast they got 2 or 3 days ahead of time.
That's an interesting point you make. Now, you talk about that we're very dependent on our bank cards, debit cards, cell phones, and that could be a problem for the next big disaster. Why?
Well, so the two main modes of communication after Hurricane Andrew hit were the landline, a real landline that's powered by the central office, not that comes on the cable, but a real twisted pair landline, and the radio.
Right.
Everybody had a transistor radio. Now, I don't know, half the people, most people don't have transistor radios.
Yeah,
no young people have transistor radios.
Absolutely. Millennials don't even probably know what that is.
Right, exactly. So that's a huge public safety problem. Imagine going